It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. AEW Dynamite followed by a Wrestling Inc. podcast to talk it and all the other news and whatever else you want to opine about here as we are live on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube and Twitch. And for those of you that like to do the audio only, we welcome you to the audio only now or later on. Wednesday night. Oh, but Alfred's not here. He's on the night off tonight. So, of course, that's going to mean Jimmy and Justin, Korderas and LaBar, former sports entertainment referee for over 20 years. He is the esteemed, the well-respected, the legendary Mr. Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, I love that we get to do this again.
Me too, my friend. I love doing it at JL. It's J&J back together again, and it's a fun night to talk about it too.
It is gonna be a fun night. Yeah, I was. I gotta tell you, when I got your text earlier today, I didn't even know. I wasn't on. I didn't know that Alfred was off tonight, and I didn't know that you were next man up. So you broke the news to me, which was great, and I was excited. I was like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, I love doing this. This is fun, and again, trying to view it both as a fan and as someone who has been there. I obviously not a wrestler, but in the ring with these guys, you know, it's kind of fun trying to analyze things and try to put things into perspective. Sometimes it's hard to get into fan mode, if you know what I mean. Even for fans nowadays, after you know,
No, I know what you mean. I mean, I was as you were, involved in podcasting before podcasting was really a thing for over a decade, and that's just mine. But you far and beyond have me trumped with working manias, working working Undertaker matches. So I can only imagine what it's like. I always think, man, I'm a little jaded. I gotta whatever. I can't even imagine the lens that you have to try to put on to look at this from a different perspective, other than being the third man in the ring.
No, to be completely honest, though, I've been truly blessed to get to learn things from some of the best that have ever done it. And doesn't mean I know everything, but I just, things from my perspective and from what I've taken in from their teachings. You know what I mean? Try to be a sponge as much as you can. And even to this day, I still try to be a sponge.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I love having you on. And, anybody that's seen you and I together, I love to veer off at times and just, get to ask and pick your brain just from your perspective, because nobody else is going to be able to give that perspective that you can have, again, being a referee for as long as you were with the names and situations that you were. So we certainly have a lot to talk about with Jimmy. Of course, we love having the chat room going on. The chat room has become like a viewing party. People are on the chat at this YouTube Twitch link. For hours prior to us going live, they're essentially watching Dynamite together. So that's very cool. So again, if you're listening to this or watching this after the fact and you're wondering, is there any reason for me to stay up and check this podcast out live, 10 Eastern or 7 Pacific, or if you're over across the pond, you're middle of the night, thank you. If you're wondering why would I mean, there's some other factors. There's just kind of a little community that's built here. And there's also the super chat factor. You can put your chat in, put a little jingling-a-ling for Raj in his pocket, and we'll definitely make sure it makes it to the show. So a chance for you to become the third man, so to speak, here in our podcast. Let's talk a little bit of news, Jimmy, before we get into Dynamite. This first story, a wild one, but does obviously have connection to the pro wrestling world. MMA and pro wrestling star Cain Velasquez. Of course, Cain did work a little bit with WWE a few years ago. He's been hit with 10 charges related to a shooting in San Jose, California on Monday. TMZ Sports kind of really taking the lead with the reporting on this, but he's been charged with a first-degree attempted murder, shooting into an occupied motor vehicle or aircraft, 3 counts of assault with a firearm, 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, carrying a loaded firearm with intent to commit a felony. And basically the story is here. He is accused of shooting a man and that man's parents, and that man that he's accused of shooting was recently charged with 1 felony count of a lewd act upon a child under the age of 14. And that child allegedly is a young relative of Velasquez. So Cain Velasquez essentially seeking out some vengeance, and you're now getting hit with the charges attached to it. Jimmy, this is a wild story. It's a wild story just by the headline. It's a tragic story all the way around.
Yes.
From every angle. It's a wild story from the headline, and then dare you even try to go in and just put yourself in the position of what's a person's mindset. A reaction when you saw this headline?
I was in complete and utter shock. I see. You don't know what goes through people's minds and what could trigger people, and you know, I just find it hard to believe that someone can go to that dark place, especially I don't know. It caught me completely off guard, and I could understand being upset that this person that was accused of these crimes against the young children, being released. That's a different subject altogether. You know what I mean? I kind of find that kind of.
Well, yeah. So you brought that up. Yeah. So
yeah.
The man 43 who Velasquez is accused of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
That had the charges of lewd child act. He was released from custody on February 25th without bail and against the DA's orders. Excuse me. He was ordered to stay home in a home detention 100 yards away and wear an electronic monitoring bracelet. So it starts with, why is this guy even out? And that's so. But wild story. This one's not going to be over anytime soon. This is going to be an ordeal for a while.
And I do sympathize with the child. I do sympathize with anybody the family of any of the children that have been victims of this creep, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, we can't take that kind of justice into our own hands. And I'm as much as I feel, and I want to see this guy get his just dues if he's guilty. I mean, like, as of right now, he's just accused of it, as far as I understand, right? Yeah. So I don't know.
Cain will have his day in court.
So. Yes, he will. And like I said, I feel for both sides. It's hard to, it's hard to say that I feel for the guy that was accused of these crimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he should face justice the way the justice system was meant to be.
Yeah. And just for some that might be scratching the head of like, hey, I know Cain Velasquez from the MMA world. He did pro wrestling. Yeah. I mean, he's worked some AAA in Mexico in 2019. He did sign with WWE briefly. He was signed in October 2019. Worked Crown Jewel in 2019. Took a loss to Brock Lesnar. Did a WWE live event in Mexico City, teaming with Humberto. Was supposed to be part of 2020 Rumble, got injured, and then the pandemic hit, and he was part of the first wave of budget cuts in April of 2020. So Cain Velasquez did have a quick minute with WWE and some high profile. I mean, he's on a Crown Jewel show losing to Brock Lesnar. So, so that is your recap if you forgot where Cain falls into pro wrestling history. So yeah, we'll be watching that for a long time. It's not going to be wrapped up anytime soon. So yeah, unfortunate in a lot of levels. Another one that's unfortunate. Another story here is a WWE executive departure, that has just sparked more rumor and speculation of what is the status of Triple H. I don't know how to pronounce the woman's name, so I'm just going to forego pronouncing it. That I don't want to butcher it. But the story is here that she was the manager of global talent strategy and development. She was hired in January of 2020, so not that long ago. Her position had her working closely with Triple H, who's his actual official corporate role, the real role, is executive VP of global strategy and talent development. So basically, this woman, this manager of global talent strategy, she was kind of like his number one executive assistant, so to speak. So she has since been let go, and that's just it's fueled more speculation, and it's kind of one of those things where silence kind of then, if not standing up to the mic and saying what's going on, it makes people then grab the mic and they just start writing their own narrative. And what I'm talking about is, Triple H has been very quiet, very, non-existent to the public. He's, he obviously had a health scare in the fall, which we understand, but, has disappeared from not doing media calls, not on social media, not appearing on television, obviously taking time off for the health purposes. All the while, what the public is seeing is his baby of NXT has just completely been thrown out the window. So it's fueled a lot of speculation, Jimmy, of what is Triple H's role in this very significant landscape shift that's happening right now in WWE and in the pro wrestling business in general. And so this key person being gone again, making people wonder what is Triple H's long-term role. I mean, what do you make of this?
It's interesting. Like you said, the silence is what's causing and creating this speculation as to what is going on. And we know, like you said, that Triple H did have that health scare back in the fall, but at the same time, my understanding was it was quite a significant health scare, and the people were really concerned for him, and as was I, because I do consider him a friend. So I don't have any. I'm not in contact with him, so I don't know what the situation is there. But I know a lot of people are going to start pointing to the fact that Wednesday night war, as like a lot of people like to tag, and NXT coming out behind, so to speak, AEW in the ratings is what led to the change of NXT to NXT 2.0. And yes, I understand that Hunter's best friend, Sean, is running things down at NXT in his absence. And who knows? Well, could we see him being kept off television and kept away from it on purpose? So maybe down the line it works into an angle where he comes back and he's saying, "What have you done to my NXT?"
Yeah,
this is me, of course, fantasy booking, and
sure,
something comes out of this. But can you imagine, Triple H coming back? This wasn't my vision for NXT, Sean. You knew that, and maybe, well, they feuded in the past before. Why not again?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to say. Again, speculation of wondering, with him being, again, silent for a while, out of the role for a while, what's the future of now? Where is he going to land? So we'll see. It should be noted too that again, WWE being a publicly traded company, some of this stuff is public record to find, and an SEC filing shows that Triple H, the talent, his talent contract is going to expire on March 30th, but that's completely different than Paul Levesque's executive role, which that continues to renew unless he or WWE give 90 days notice. So, so he's, for lack of a better term, he's still involved in the business side of things until we are told otherwise. But perhaps his talent contract will run out, and maybe his in-ring days, because of his health, are over. Which, if that's the case, a damn shame that we didn't get to see him go out on his terms, because he's been one of the great part-time performers in the last 10 years.
Exactly, especially considering we have a 76-year-old Vince McMahon rumored to be coming back at WrestleMania too. So I feel for any of these guys who don't get to kind of, for lack of a better term, go out under conditions other than they were forced to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you can even lump the Undertaker into that. I mean, obviously, the graveyard or the bone, the boneyard thing was fantastic when you look at the fact that they had to throw it together the way they did, and it's one of the best pieces of cinematic produced things I've ever done. But you feel that you feel for him that he couldn't have that Mania match with an AJ Styles, and maybe let that be his last match. So
yeah, no, absolutely, I totally agree.
So we'll see. I do see that we had some super chats coming in that I was just trying to hold them until we get to the relevant topic. So let's go ahead and jump into that relevant topic, which is probably going to dominate a good portion of the conversation, and as it should. So there's been all kinds of buzz around Tony Khan having a major announcement, Jimmy. Now, Tony's become quite synonymous with having announcements and talent signings, and do they live up to the hype? Everybody has their own opinion of that, but this one, he had been hyping on Busted Open and saying this is going to change. This is going to be impact the entire business. It's going to be good for both the fans and the talent. It's not a signing, so he even equated it to maybe having the magnitude of what the first dance that they did back in August had. So, what could it be? And he's out in the ring to start Dynamite. They are in Jacksonville, so they are in the home stomping grounds of AEW. And he talks about the inception of AEW a couple of years ago, right across the street in the parking lot here in Jacksonville for that famous pep rally press conference. And he talks about it was 17 years prior to that, about Ring of Honor and what that meant to him as a young fan growing up. And then he cuts to the chase that Tony Khan has now purchased Ring of Honor. And Tony, after he makes that announcement, Jimmy, a press release goes out, and this includes the tape library. This includes everything related to Ring of Honor. He has purchased it at the days of Sinclair Broadcasting owning Ring of Honor are no more. There are so many levels to this. I'll just start with, what does that mean to you? We know, so what we know is what he has acquired in terms of the tape library and the likeness and all the rights to it. What does that mean? What he's gaining? What does that mean to you?
Well, he's gaining, like you said, a very valuable tape library of a lot of talent that was, basically got their start in Ring of Honor and cut their teeth there, and some really outstanding talent, as we saw a couple of them tonight that opened the show. First match on AEW Dynamite, a great match, may I say. But it's going to be interesting going forward to see what happens with Ring of Honor as far as continuing it as its own separate entity from AEW. Will it be incorporated in? Will there be crossover? And also the one advantage that Tony Khan does have right now is he does have a relationship with Time Warner. Mm-hmm. And is that somewhere where they may move eventually to? Because right now, with Sinclair Broadcasting, I could speak for my home here in Toronto. We used to get Ring of Honor on the Buffalo affiliate from here, Fox affiliate. Mm-hmm. So, will that continue their television that way? Will it incorporate into streaming services online? The business model is going to be the biggest determining factor. And yes, it's going to hit home for diehard wrestling fans. It's just, again, the challenge is going to be drawing in the lapsed fan, the ones that's kind of gone away, try to bring them back in.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned, I believe, over 40 current AEW talents on contract have matches in Ring of Honor. So certainly there, just with what you can do, having video archives of their careers. And that kind of plays into the super chat here from Patrick Short, $5. If Tony can get a streaming deal with a service like an HBO Max, that opens up a Ring of Honor brand, in my opinion, and you have that huge library. Yeah, I know that was one of my guesses. I think it was Raj as well. Is what is this announcement? We kind of thought maybe it's that he's landed some kind of streaming deal, because let's be honest, we're streaming. Everybody has to have a streaming deal. Obviously, WWE moved their whole network to Peacock, and that is just every year cable is becoming less and less. And so, and I still think that's probably coming sooner than later, if it hasn't already been finalized, ink to paper. Tony just hasn't announced it yet. An AEW network, on some service. But yeah, I mean, that's, Jimmy, it's like he obviously paid, presumably millions. I don't know what the number is, but presumably millions to purchase ROH. And by the way, Sinclair being a public company, we'll be able to find out sooner than later, like that those details will become public of what he pays. So that's going to be out there sooner than later. So if he paid that, obviously he wants to get a return on that. And it's like, so how do you do that? Well, one, again, to be monetized on the tape library. But then I also wonder, okay, so we know what he just got. He got tape library, he got the rights to the name and the likenesses. What does he do with it moving forward? Does it just stay as archival for the purpose of a streaming or a vault? Or does this crazy balloon inflated roster that we're wondering, like, what is he doing with all these guys?
Right.
Does he, he has Dark, he has Elevation, but does he keep the Ring of Honor letters and name around as a secondary brand where he can hone talent?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting question right there. You just hit the nail on the head. Does he keep ROH as a separate entity? Does it when things get better and this pandemic settles down to where we can get to some kind of normalcy back? And will they go out on the road as a separate brand, as an ROH brand, and AEW travels? It's kind of like the brand split back in the day when Raw and SmackDown used to travel as two separate brands of the same company. Will that be the same situation? Will Ring of Honor become, for lack of a better term, AEW SmackDown?
Sure.
And you, like you said, from a business standpoint, television and streaming and all that sort of stuff, the business model is changing as we speak right now. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see what Tony Khan's ultimate plan is, or even if he's got one already, written down.
Yeah, my opinion to it is that it's great to acquire what he's acquired. Okay, if it was for the right price, I guess. Acquire what you've acquired with the video library. But I don't see, and Ring of Honor was around for a very long time, but I don't see the point of sending out a separate tour under a Ring of Honor brand, and even if it operates as a developmental, essentially, I don't see any point of that. Let Ring of Honor live on as history and live on again as the archive. But AEW is the letters that matter now. That's the money. That's the real money. That's the money that you're trying to get TV deal. Those are the three letters you're trying to get new TV deal rights with, and etc. So just I guess continue to blossom your Elevation, your Rampage, your Dark, use those again to occupy this large roster. But I don't see the point of essentially manufacturing, your own competition that you own. It was different, and I'm curious what you think, as you were there when Vince bought WCW in March of 2001. Funny enough, the letters WCW had only been around half the time that Ring of Honor's been around.
Right.
But WCW obviously reached greater peaks, made stars that were, NWO, Goldberg. And so I know some fans have wondered, should Vince have kept the WCW letters going, something that he owns, but let it be its, let WCW be its own vision and its own whatever, while WWE continues to do their thing. When you were there at the time, did you think that, rather than bringing in WCW as a mocked invasion, did you think there was ever cause to continue having a separate company that Vince just controls both of them?
No, I thought there was. I thought that was going to be the original intent, and have them, branch off and do separate tours. But again, like you said, when you have an inflated roster, like, I don't want to say inflated for AEW, it is a big roster, and it's right now with what they have in their streaming and their television, it is tough to find room there for everyone. And now, if you're adding this entire ROH roster roster to the one you already have, my goodness, that's a lot of space to try and find.
Well, I think right now I don't think he's acquired any talent. I think Ring of Honor separated themselves from all their contracts a few months ago, so he's not acquiring all that talent currently. Okay, he could. Obviously he could go back to those guys and girls that lost that deal's expired, but he's just acquiring just the name and everything they've had in the past.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
So.
Yeah, and if the goal is to eventually acquire this talent that was, let go from Ring of Honor, that's going to be tough to find room for them. So it's even right now, the way AEW is, it's tough to find the room on television, at least. Yes, the streaming they put on Dark and that sort of stuff, but man, I'm curious to hear what his plan is to go forward. That's for sure.
Sure. Isn't it wild that 35 to 40 years ago, it was Vince that was in this position? It was Vince that was occupying and grabbing up as much talent as he could, as much TV, as much territory. Now, Tony's come into the US with AEW. He has AEW. He's not, I had said when Ring of Honor, closed shop at the end of 2021, I said, this happens because AEW is here. So now he's essentially acquired a Ring of Honor. Who's to say he doesn't acquire Impact? I mean, he's literally grabbing up everything. It was just funny because it's history repeats itself, but he's doing what his counterpart, his 76-year-old counterpart, did 35 to 40 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much. He bought the Forbidden Door.
He bought the door.
Yeah.
He bought the door. That is correct. He bought the door.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah. So who's, like you said, who's to say that he doesn't buy other doors as well?
Yeah. Terry Allen Jr., PS5, my source watching the podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate everybody again coming along for this fun conversation. So yeah, I mean, I will say this. Again, it's kind of the running joke of, does Tony's hype, live up to the? I mean, I think this lives up. I think he said this is a big deal. This is a big deal. How he uses it's going to be an even bigger deal. But this is a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to make the jokes about Tony making these huge announcements and
I'll make it. I've said before, he needs to watch and make sure that he doesn't Dixie himself. I'll say it.
There you go. And I thought tonight's announcement was very big. Again, like you said, I'm going to have to wait and see how huge this becomes down the road.
Sure. Well, I can tell you what has become huge over the over time, and especially here with this wonderful podcast, and that is our friends at Manscaped. That's right. I can tell you right now, I'm going to give a round of applause to Manscaped. I'm excited to announce that Manscaped has launched their Ultra Premium Collection. And believe it or not, Manscaped is not just for below the waist. They can also do more everywhere else. That's right. I'm talking about the leveled up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent that Manscaped brings. This is an all-in-one skin and hair kit for the everyday man. It covers you from head to toe, literally, Jimmy. Manscaped is trusted below the waist, but now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to their website, manscaped.com, and you can save 20% off and get free shipping if you use the code WINC20. I've been a big endorser of Manscaped. They do, as part of me working this podcast, they do send me product regularly. I get to get it before it makes the shelves. I feel like a VIP, but the stuff delivers. Hence why I'm always happy to do this. They have everything from the Lawnmower 4.0, which I've talked about a lot. It's got the skin safe technology. It's great for shaving. Waterproof, all that stuff. But now they've also broadened their horizon, so to speak. And we're now talking about Manscaped Premium Deodorant. I'm not talking about deodorant for your balls. They do have ball deodorant. I'm talking about your old-fashioned armpit deodorant. They got that. It's aluminum-free. It smells like the signature scent. They got the hydrating body moisturizer. If you have tattoos or dry skin, I deal with both of those. This is great for you for having the moisturizer. It's designed to keep the skin feeling clean, smooth, and smelling fresh. They have the body wash. I love this. It's the lather you up, fresh infused aloe and sea salt shower gel, 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, plus a free gift, a 3-pack set of the lip balm that's made with ingredients such as vitamin E, peppermint, eucalyptus oil to keep those chappers feeling moist. That's 4 products plus a gift inside the Ultra Premium Collection. What a score from Manscaped right there. All these products are cruelty-free, vegan-friendly, dye-free, the best ingredients with zero compromise, so you can feel good and not guilty about the product that you are using. So again, manscaped.com, just for checking out this podcast and being a regular listener and viewer of this podcast, use the code WINC20. There's a reason why they continue to broaden their arsenal, because they are doing well. There's a reason why they are continuing with this podcast, because those of you who are watching, listening, and you're using it, and it's working. So around and round we go. So if you're not involved in the circle yet, jump in on the circle, and you'll figure out what all the noise is about here.
Especially if you're someone like myself who is blessed with the Greek curse of having hair everywhere except. But anyway,
that's the thing. They got the shampoo and conditioner, the 2-in-1. Like, I don't got much going on, but I still I got a scalp. Yeah. I still need to take care of myself, and their stuff's great. My wife loves the scent of it, so that's a bonus. Mm-hmm. So all good. Use the code WINC20, save 20% plus free shipping. Go to manscaped.com. And as always, we give them a huge thank you for their support of this podcast. So manscaped.com. Gotta love them.
Nice.
All right. Back to our scheduled AEW Dynamite review here. So we transitioned from Tony Khan's announcement of buying a Ring of Honor into what was one of the first main events of Ring of Honor. And that was Bryan Danielson versus Christopher Daniels. And what do you know? TK can roll that on out, and that's our opening match. We get Bryan Danielson versus Christopher Daniels. Logical from the announcement, and again, this is the go-home show to Revolution. Bryan Danielson's in a huge match against Jon Moxley, so this made sense to me.
No, it did. It made absolute sense, and not only that, they had a heck of a match. They really gave us the essence of what ROH was about. In that it was technically sound. Both men, shaking hands prior to the match kind of made it feel like, a Ring of Honor type match. But at the end, Bryan Danielson taking it to a different place, he extended his hand, but he extended a lot more, like his foot too as well. But I love the match. And I love the fact that I think they mentioned on air that Paul Turner, the referee, was also the referee of that match back then as well. So it's kind of coming full circle.
It's kind of wild too when you hear that stat that a guy like Paul Turner's been around for that long.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Jimmy, correct me. Did he ever have any WWE tryouts, or did he have a cup of coffee with WWE?
I don't recall him ever having a tryout with WWE. Now that doesn't mean he didn't, but with my time there, I don't recall him ever coming in like there was a time or two where I was down in FCW before NXT, and when they would bring in talent for tryouts, they would also bring in some referees, and I'd go down and take a look at them, and they'd ask my opinion and stuff like that. But I don't recall ever seeing Paul down there.
I was just going to ask, how does a referee tryout work? Is it FCW? Is it dark matches? Is it both?
No, it's at FCW and mostly, and back then, and they would referee matches with the actual talent who's trying out for FCW at the time as well. But every once in a while, like you said, there'd be a dark match at TV, and they'd bring in a referee to give them a look at as well too, and they ask her opinion.
That's quite the gambling situation. If you have one or two talents in the ring in FCW that's on their tryout, and it's one thing if you're so if you're a wrestler having a tryout match, that's the biggest tryout match of your life, right? And you'd probably have a little bit of comfort knowing, okay, I got veteran Jimmy Korderas in here at least to, like, if I need to turn to for something, or but you don't even have that. You got your guy in the stripes is trying to make his impression too. Talk about a trust fall.
Yeah, no kidding. But I can only imagine how nerve-wracking it was, because for me, being in the ring, I was my own worst critic. I hated watching my matches back for some reason. It was just, for me, it was just like, oh, why did I move like that? Why did I do that? Oh my goodness, you know what I mean? My wife would look at me and go, "That was fine." I said, "No, it wasn't." You know what I mean? But again, and also, like, they would send the referee down to analyze the referees, because sometimes we can spot things that,
sure,
like I told you the story about having a tell.
Yeah.
And I never tell on here or publicly what these tells are, because then you can't unsee them, as my producer of our show up here once told me. So like I said, sometimes a different point of view.
I called you out off air last time. You and I had the same tell for certain people.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fun stuff. That's Jimmy, you can't substitute your experience and knowledge, which I love. Stephen Marcachilli, how about The Rock as special ref for Brock versus Roman?
No, I don't know if I like that idea. Obviously, that would make it huge beyond belief. But at the same time, if Rock is the guy that they're planning on for LA next year, then he doesn't need to be a part of this match.
Yeah.
It would be enough for him after the match, if Roman were to be successful and beat Brock at WrestleMania, and he says, and you're coming to my hometown, LA, next year. If you still got that thing, guess who's next in line, or something like that. But I don't want him involved in this match right now.
I kind of agree. I'm not opposed. If they can get The Rock in his crazy schedule, if his private jet can get to Dallas for night 2 of Mania, of course you utilize him. But I agree, it's once the match is over, especially if Roman ends up going over. I think you have Roman versus Brock, which, yes, we've seen it a couple times, but this is a whole new framing of it. It's never been framed where Brock's the babyface, where Brock is the playing the crowd, and title versus title, and Heyman's not with Brock, is on the other side. So there's so much with this. I think The Rock would actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, The Rock would be a little bit of a distraction actually at this point if you put him in as a referee.
Yeah.
You don't need that. You need The Rock for business for next year in LA.
Exactly.
Or
some old character used to say, exactamundo.
Exactamundo. Jack Trapp says, I see elements of Jimmy Korderas in every ref working today. Well, that's a compliment, I think.
Oh, I hope it's the good stuff.
I hope it's the good elements of Jimmy Korderas. Oh, that's awesome. Jimmy Korderas a special ref, says Ethan Cruz.
Hey, you know what? If the call comes, I was requested once for a main event at WrestleMania. Who knows? Maybe there's still some life left in these knees and elbow.
So I got to ask real quick. We always hear about, because I know also some referees also fall under the category of employee, and maybe they also do ring crew. And if you're an employee, your certain benefits are taken care, whatever. So did you get a WrestleMania payday? Did you get a bump in pay for Mania paydays, for Mania matches? Like when you did Taker Edge, did you get a? I know we're not supposed to ask about money. You don't have to give me figures, but did you get a bump?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
All right.
And let me just say, very pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Was it now? Do you have to be like? Do you have to main event like a Taker Mania match, or like if you're on Mania at all, do you get a bump?
Well, usually Mania was a little bit of a bump, which is nice because it is WrestleMania. But the main event of WrestleMania, I was like I said, I was very pleased.
All
Let's
right.
just put it that way.
Good steak dinner.
No, I'll tell you. It was an honor to be in there in that main event match. I mean, but then again, when that payday comes, you go, wow.
All right. Of course, that was the day of traditional pay-per-view. So I don't know what it's like now with network and you can have 2 million people watching on Peacock, but it's all
Right.
all right. That's all right. Good to know that you got taken care of.
No complaints.
It's good. Good.
Yeah.
All right, back to AEW. And look, I know some people are like, oh, you're getting off. It's AEW. Look, this is a pro wrestling show. If
Yes.
somebody brings, I'm not going to shy away from talking about The Rock and wrestling. We are on the road to Mania, so if you have a problem with that, hey, that's where I get to be the host. Host discretion. All right.
Exactly. If the Bucks can go hang out outside WWE headquarters in Connecticut and do their being the elite from there,
Yeah.
we can kind of go off the rails a little bit as well.
Right. And I have a former WWE referee sitting here with me. You're going to tell me I can't talk about WWE? I'm the host.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, and Jimmy kind of teased that. I don't want to gloss over because it actually was probably the best part. The match was good. It was what it was. It's Danielson versus Daniels. But post-match, Bryan Danielson saying how we used to always end our matches with a handshake in Ring of Honor. He goes and shakes Daniel's hand, who's laying on the ground, and then proceeds to grab him and kick his face in. So that was some great stuff. And then Moxley comes out. And Moxley says, let's just do this now. And Bryan chicken shits his way out the ring. So perfect. Exactly. You don't need to have these two guys touch ahead of this intriguing singles match of where Moxley might team up with Bryan eventually, but he has to bleed with him first. What a great tagline.
No, that was awesome. These guys are doing some of their best promo work, especially from Bryan Danielson, because we didn't get to see a lot of him. We're getting to see him now. And it's working. It's working, and this is a match on a card that's pretty stacked that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it's wild. We saw some of this at WWE too with Bryan, but obviously I always think about 2014 and the Yes movement that managed to hijack and change a WrestleMania card, which is wild. Great babyface story, but it's actually a real debate of is Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson better as a heel than a babyface, or is he equally great at both? Because that's a pretty wild debate here.
When you can do both well, that just speaks volumes.
Right. Up next, we get the tag team battle royal. This is to figure out who's going to be the final team that's going to get to jump into the triple threat tag team match at Revolution. Already, you have O'Reilly and Fish, Red Dragon, up against the champions in Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. So who's going to get to be the third team? We start out with FTR and Top Flight. Top Flight is Dante Martin and his returning brother Darius, who's been out for over a year with an ACL, so that he's getting to be back in front of the crowd. Got a nice reaction there. I'm just going to kind of run through the team. So that they started. Then we have the Acclaimed. Then we have the first part of Dark Order with 5 and 10 respectively. Then we have Butcher and Blade. We have the Varsity Blondes. We have Bear Country, Santana and Ortiz. Chuck and Trent are the best friends. More Dark Order from Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, Young Bucks. We get Ryan Nemeth and Peter Avalon as a group, as a team. We get the Gun Club. Don't call them the Ass Boys. Then we get Brock Anderson and Lee Johnson. Then we get 2.0. That's that. Our final 3 teams, and mind you, both members of each team have to be eliminated for a team to be fully eliminated. It comes down to the final 3 of FTR, Top Flight, and the Bucks. So kind of cool there of teams that started this out. FTR gets eliminated first. It finally comes down to Darius Martin and Matt Jackson. So a shining moment for Darius Jackson having to go the distance after having been gone for a year. They're having a really dramatic kind of finish on the apron. Ultimately, Matt Jackson is going to get the win. So the Young Bucks are the third and final team. Red Dragon's out there celebrating. Of course, there's this, are they friends, are they not, as Adam Cole was stuck in the middle. Red Dragon celebrates, but certainly Bucks not fully trusting them. Jimmy, I this is the right decision, right? There's no team bigger than the Bucks to put into this match, especially because Red Dragon's already involved.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you talk about tag teams, and obviously one of the most popular, regardless of whether they're heels or not, right? What I'm trying to say is one of the most popular and well-known and recognized tag teams right now out there is the Young Bucks. And it only makes perfect sense for them to be involved in this match. You are stacking this card very well. And if you're going to stack it, this 3-team match, that was the right choice.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then, there's the drama writes itself for Bucks.
Exactly. Because, it's part of that story because, Adam Cole and the Bucks are buddies and they're friends and, but they're kind of got their own little things going over here and there. So it just adds to the story. Can they coexist?
Can they coexist? That's always the question. Can they coexist? I got to say, too, quick note. It is amazing how Brock Anderson looks spitting image of his father. And Brock Anderson, I mean, I was in person. I saw him in person several months ago. I mean, this kid's in his 20s, but in a weird way, he already looks like he's like 40. I don't know. And I kind of mean that as a compliment because, like, his dad, Arn, has just such a grizzled veteran look. Even when Arn was in his 30s, Arn had a grizzled veteran kind of look to him. And his son has adopted that same attribute, which I think is awesome. And does the spine buster, as he should.
Of course.
To perfect art form.
And speaking of which, the Gun Club, those kids, man, they've got Billy's DNA, and I'm so jealous of Billy.
Right.
My goodness, I can't believe he's
7 or whatever he is,
and still looks like that. Whatever the secret is, bottle it, sell it.
He's an ass man. That's the secret.
Oh, that's.
Did you hear this? Did you listen to the song?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I heard it for years.
Yeah, I'm about to say you should be familiar with it. We get a backstage pre-tape of Chris Jericho cutting a promo about his match with Eddie Kingston, talking about how if Eddie Kingston can actually somehow beat Chris Jericho, Jericho will look him in the eye and shake his hand and say that he has earned his respect. But when he beats him, he's just going to tell him to go GFY. And then Santana and Ortiz come in real quick, and there's a little stare down, a little exchange. There's a fist bump. So keep your eye on that of Jericho versus Eddie Kingston. Jimmy, I don't know if you and I have got to talk too much about Eddie Kingston, but what's your thoughts going into this match of Chris Jericho, who's done it all, been there, done that? Kingston's 38. By the time Jericho's 38, he had pretty much done everything there was to do. Where are you at of interest to this?
I am interested in it because, Jericho cutting those promos especially last week, the week of the promos, as everybody's been labeling last week, him and Eddie cut some great promos. And even tonight's promo by Jericho hitting some hard truths about Eddie. And let's put it this way. And again, it's not a disrespect and it's not a shot against Eddie Kingston, but he was an internet darling. He was a hardcore darling. He just didn't, for some reason, get to that level where he was recognizable by those outside the hardcore community. And it's taken this long for him to kind of get that spot. And maybe, see, that's one of the good things about AEW is these guys that we may have heard about and not really seen, we're getting to see them now. And I am looking forward to seeing, and again, no disrespect to Eddie, I'm looking forward to seeing Chris elevate Eddie this weekend in their match.
Yeah. I think probably what it is Eddie Kingston. Again, I've always said I'm always a believer of the airport test of can you see the guy walk through the airport? Does he turn your head? And he doesn't have this. He doesn't have the size or the look necessarily that's going to turn your head. But once he starts speaking and tells his story and speaks as only he does, you can't script him. He does grab your attention. Problem is, all the places he had been prior, no disrespect to them, they just don't have the visibility of where even if he's cutting a great promo, it's just not. But AEW, AEW is getting 1 million people on Turner. So now he's fine. He's a guy who, he doesn't in a lineup, he doesn't look necessarily like your main eventer. But once you get 1 million people each week to hear him, okay, now you have my attention. He had a great story in the Players Tribune. I thought his story was very interesting. So it's took a platform that isn't AEW. It's took a wrestling fan like a Tony Khan, because quite frankly, Vince isn't giving a guy like Eddie Kingston a chance.
No, most likely not. No, because because for the reasons you stated, Vince doesn't see him, as that guy that stands out, that makes people, take a second look and oh my goodness, who is that?
Right. Yeah. If Vince thinks that you look more like a guy that's buying a ticket to the show, then but Eddie's been
then you put on the striped shirt.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Jimmy.
Okay.
But then you become. But the fact that he had AEW and had this platform, he's finally gotten to stand out and make people like myself more aware of him. And I'm this is probably up there. This is probably top 3 of the matches I'm looking forward to of this pay-per-view.
I am too, and a lot of it, again, like I said, it has to do with Jericho, because I can see Jericho is the guy who knows how to do business the right way and to elevate someone like an Eddie Kingston.
There's a chat comment here. It says fist bump ? Who exactly you named 4 people? Elaborate. I was sorry if you didn't. If you're looking to me to give you the show recap, if you didn't watch, Jericho's doing a pre-tape backstage, cutting a promo to the camera, and just as he's finished, Santana and Ortiz approach him. There's just a stare down between those 3. And then Santana and Ortiz both end up fist bumping Jericho, and Jericho, as they walk off, says, "I always have your back." So, we're supposed to believe that things are cool with them, but of course, Santana and Ortiz are also buddies with Kingston. So I suspect that we will get some reveal at Revolution of who is on whose side.
Right.
Up next, a CM Punk promo, Jimmy, and this may be the highlight of the night. And yes, I know we announced that there's a purchasing of ROH, but this might even this piece of business might trump that. Punk comes out looking a little, he's heavy. He's got a lot on his mind. Talks about how MJF came out and bared his soul the week prior. Punk's wondering, is he being gaslit here? He believes what Maxwell Jacob Friedman said is true, but is he being as sincere as he's trying to make us believe? He questions if it matters. He notes that Punk himself had a famous picture at a meet and greet with a Stone Cold Steve Austin when Punk was a young kid. And then when Punk when Austin famously took his ball and went home, they're referencing the 0-2 King of the Ring qualifier match when Austin didn't want to work with Brock and was going through other personal issues. Punk goes, "It didn't ruin me. I didn't blame Austin for all the troubles I had in my life."
Right.
So, is this really adding up? He continues to go on and say that, hurt people that are hurt go on to hurt other people. But he says nothing he can say can quite match what he needs to do. And in order to do this, he invites MJF out. MJF comes out, no music, no pyro or ballyhoo, comes out.
White suit,
good guy colors, looking again like he's still heavy on the mind and the heart. Punk said, "I used to be you. I used to be full of that hate and that rage and anger." And Punk references, without saying names because it was a WWE time, but he references some past storyline things he did as a heel, referencing, I think it was a Jeff Hardy reference of dumping alcohol down an alcoholic's face and dumping the ashes on a wrestling legend. Those ashes being of his famous manager, of course, the build to Mania 29 with Undertaker and Paul Bearer. Yeah, right. I mean, and I'm recapping this in detail because it needs to be recapped in detail.
Yes,
this is just good stuff. Finally, Punk Jimmy offers his hand to MJF, and MJF looks, he sells it, goes in for the hug, hugs Punk. Punk finally, after a little bit of reluctancy, puts his arms around MJF. There's an embrace, and the people of Jacksonville have bought this hook, line, and sinker. The majority of them, because they are embracing this like, oh my god, is it? We're gonna have a match. We know the match isn't gonna be canceled, but is this match turned into a match now of respect?
Right.
And just as they let you feel that, MJF low blows him.
Yeah.
Low blows him and then proceeds. Spears and Wardlow come out. Wardlow reluctant. Give him the ring. He busts Punk open. They tie the dog collar to him. They hang him with the dog collar. Punk calls him MJF calls Punk a stupid old man. "I'm the devil. The greatest trick I ever played was making you think I didn't exist."
Right.
Jimmy, give him the Oscar.
Oh my goodness! Look, this again goes back to last week when these two cut a tremendous promo. At first, I thought, where was the kaboom? Where was the earth-shattering kaboom at the end of it? I was expecting MJF to turn back Max, or do we call him Max, or is only Punk allowed to call him Max?
Only Punk calls him Max.
Okay, so MJF. I was waiting for that kaboom. And then the next day, it kind of hit me, and I went, "You know what? I'm glad they didn't do it. I was anticipating it coming, and I'm glad they waited to this week because it turned out absolutely brilliant. In my opinion, they sucked in that crowd, like you said. People were buying into this, or going, "Oh, is this the MJF, face turn that we were hoping for?" Because, as much as he's a heel and he is drawing heel heat, there is an element out there that want to cheer him because they're enjoying his work so much. And once he hit that low blow, it just switched. Like it went 180, boom, these people turned. He got the heat. It was actually extremely well done. And I'm going to be, I don't mean to be negative here, but the only thing that caught me a little bit off was the color. They got some good color on Punk, and I get it going into this match on Sunday, where it is a dog collar match, but I would have almost wanted to wait to see that color on Sunday at the pay-per-view. I don't know. It's just it's a little thing, but at the same time, you talk about matches that I'm really interested in seeing at the pay-per-view. This is top 1.5.
Normally, I would agree with you on the color, especially with a dog collar match, a match
Right.
that has history of being brutal and bringing out color.
Mhm.
I'm going to disagree. I think that it was the color had to top it off because because we are less than a week from this match. I don't know if the low blow would have been enough. I do think it took the extra measures of maybe they could have just not done the color and tied him to the dog collar and kind of hung him up there. But I mean that visual that was Punk has not. Chat room can correct me. I can't recall Punk having bled since coming to AEW. So it's not like Punk bleeding on TV has been something we've been seeing a lot. You have to go back to WWE days, and even in WWE, he never bled to that extent because that's not allowed. So
no, that's absolutely a fair point. But at the same time, you are doing the hanging on the rope as well. And what they could have done is, because it was a low blow, and I don't like to see a lot of damage done to the nether regions, but at the same time, as you got him hung over the ropes, you can bring that dog collar around through the legs and kind of,
Sure. I gotta say, MJF pulling off his nice dress shirt, and he had a white T-shirt on with the photo print of his meet and greet photo, and now he's just got Punk's blood just smearing across his white. I mean, it had a dirty, grimy feel that just I did top off the segment. So blood or no blood, regardless, business was made here. It was
absolutely, like you talk about, enticing people, put them in the seats or getting them to buy it on pay-per-view. That angle definitely did do that.
Right. And we'll get back to Wardlow we'll get to Wardlow. We'll get back to MJF and then Wardlow and everything here in a second. I'll stay in order. We do get a women's tag match. Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker up against Mercedes Martinez and Thunder Rosa. This was what it was. Also, the big takeaway here is Thunder Rosa, who has a match. Thunder Rosa ends up hitting the Thunder Driver on Britt and pins Britt ahead of the pay-per-view. So she gets a pinfall on Britt.
So in Wrestling 101 old school, that means that Britt is retaining on Sunday. But I don't want to be that guy. But it's a nice little win on television, and it helps, elevate Thunder Rosa. Yeah. And that's the goal here. And even if she isn't winning the title on Sunday, let's just say that Britt Baker is planned to come out of that still intact as champion. Thunder Rosa could still get over huge without going over.
Sure. No, I agree. Yeah, it is a Wrestling 101 thing, but sometimes it's okay to be predictable as long as it's logical.
So. Yes.
We get Wardlow. He's going to have a match against Cesar Bononi. And this one, I have to say, and this is the second match in a row now. Wardlow also had a match on Rampage last week against Nick Camarado. Both Nick and Cesar are bigger in stature than Wardlow, which bothers me because my LaBar guy in Wardlow, he is viewed as he's a monster of a man. He's a gym fiend, but he is not the tallest in pro wrestling. He's not the biggest, but in AEW and the perception of what their talent looks like, he is bigger than 2/3 of the roster. He is a big man. You put Wardlow in WWE, he looks like a specimen, but he falls in line with like the Sheamuses and the Drew McIntyres. They're not dubbed as Omos or how Braun Strowman was. They're just dubbed as solid bodies.
Right.
So I'm sensitive to the fact that they put Wardlow in matches with guys that are bigger than him when they stand next to him. Right. But I guess they immediately tried to use that as an advantage to say, even if this guy is taller than Wardlow, Wardlow still is more mayhem and war than they are, because this match, there's not even a punch and a kick and a struggle, Jimmy. There's not a grab a hold and work ahead. It's worked immediately into Wardlow power bombing Cesar 3 times.
Right.
It gets the win.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what they're going for. Is they're trying to say, no matter how big somebody is, Wardlow still is going to dominate them.
Yeah, and they've got the potential to have a really huge baby face on their hands here, because you talk about people wanting to cheer somebody, they really want to cheer this guy. And that little business they did at the end when Shawn Spears came in with the chair and went to do the heavy damage after the match was over, and Wardlow stopped him.
Yeah, so Wardlow stops him, and then I'll just pick up from where Jimmy left off. So Wardlow stops Spears, who's been repeatedly trying to get the extra attack in on Wardlow's dime, so to speak. Wardlow does all the heavy lifting. So Wardlow stops him. Spears backs up, and then Spears even kind of like fakes like he might think about stabbing Wardlow in the back. When Wardlow turns his back, Wardlow looks back, says, "I see you." It's a big chess game of eye contact and control. Well, then we jump to a backstage segment, and Wardlow and Spears kind of in each other's faces. MJF comes in, tries to cool things down, and says, "Look, I tell you what. If you end up winning this TNT title in this ladder match, you can have it. You don't have to. You're not obligated to give it over to me. You can have it." And then Snidely says, "But you're not going to win it anyways."
Right.
To which Wardlow responds, "Well, I'm always so busy having to protect you." And MJF comes back and slaps Wardlow and says, "Whoever you're talking to, I own you. Your family will be out on the street if it's not for me." So, little surprised they did this backstage and not out in front of the live crowd. But Jimmy, the fact they did that tells me they're on a timeline that they have to stick with. They did it because they need to get to Sunday, and that might matter for Sunday.
Yeah, I think the seeds were definitely planted for Sunday. The slap was very surprising. I get the beratement that MJF gave him, because I kind of sense, you can sense the tension there. The story's being told there, but the slap was like oh.
Yeah.
And now you're anticipating, you're waiting. You want to see Wardlow get his or MJF get his comeuppance for disrespecting Wardlow the way he did.
Absolutely. If you want to see a young-looking Wardlow, and my favorite picture that I have, go to my Twitter at Justin LaBar. It's my profile picture. It's a young Wardlow as IWC Wrestling's world champ, and pyro's going off. My favorite picture, but it is a young Michael Wardlow before he's taken the world by storm. And Jimmy, he's on the rocket to be up there in the top 3 baby faces for the company by the year.
No, absolutely. And for lack of a better term, a homegrown AEW guy being that guy. So, I am looking forward to it. He's got the potential to be the guy for them.
And it's so funny because, he goes on Busted Open, a lot. And it's so funny because, and it's true to life. He just lives in the gym. This guy, his day is predicated around planning his workouts and his meals. That is his life.
Wow.
Like he doesn't stray too far beyond that.
I don't mean to stray away from AEW. So what you're saying is he's a Vince guy.
Oh, don't even get me started. He had been in the Performance Center. He had been in the Performance Center. He even did a reality show. He didn't make the final cut with the Undercover Boss with Stephanie McMahon. The McMahons had a chance, and Michael Wardlow walked in and walked out of their doors without a contract.
Wow.
I have a feeling it would be different if he got a chance again.
I would have to agree with that.
I have a feeling, but
yeah,
we will see what time does. Obviously, Wardlow doing great for AEW, so we'll see what happens here. But I think again, that was my note. They did that backstage segment. I was like, that's a huge moment. You could have built an entire in-ring segment around that interaction of MJF and Wardlow. The fact they chose to do it tonight tells me again they are on some kind of a timeline that they need to stick to. So
right.
We'll watch AEW Revolution.
Definitely. I think it is going to play into the pay-per-view. That's for sure.
All right, main event time. We get a trios match here. Adam Cole and Red Dragon, of course, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish up against Hangman Adam Page, and then his Dark Order buddies John Silver and Alex Reynolds. Of course, Cole going up against Hangman Page for the world title this Sunday. This match comes down to Adam Cole hitting the boom on Alex Reynolds. He gets the win. Post-match, Red Dragon's duct taping Hangman Page to the ropes, forcing him to watch them attack his buddies in Dark Order, and then finally a super kick from Adam Cole to Hangman Page. So again, Jimmy, Wrestling 101 would say Adam Cole's not winning, but I ask you this. This does not feel quite the same way. I don't have the same comfort level to say, oh, Adam Cole's losing this. Page is walking out champion. It's a done deal. I don't
No.
have that same confidence.
No, it doesn't feel the same as the other tag match with the ladies. This one felt a little different because, yes, the pin was on Alex Reynolds, not on the actual champion. So and the aftermath with Page being tied up in the ropes and getting super kicked and having to watch his buddies get their butts handed to them. Normally would tell you, like you said, Wrestling 101 would say, okay, he gets his revenge back on Sunday. But I'm not convinced. I could see very clearly Adam Cole possibly coming out of Sunday as your new AEW champion. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think Adam Cole, and again, no disrespect to Adam Page. But
the other Adam.
Adam Cole is the type of heel champion that could really move the needle for this company. Not that they're not moving needles. They're doing really well, but a good heel champion, and then have someone come in as hey, what if Wardlow were the guy to eventually go after Adam Cole?
Well, but here's the thing. I don't think Adam Cole has too many more days where AEW could actually trot him out there as a heel.
Right.
And I think that's where the interesting thing comes from with he and Page. Hangman Page, we go back to September. I mean, Hangman Page was the most organic babyface the company had. They just the fans were clamoring for him to get his hands on Kenny Omega. And he eventually did, and he captured the title. And it's been a good run. But Adam Cole came in, and they've put him in the heel spot, and he's got the heel bucks he's trying to be friends with. He's got his buddies from NXT he's trying to be friends with. The fans want to cheer Adam Cole.
Yeah.
He can play heel, and he does his best, but he does it with the fans almost like, all right, we'll play along, but we're still doing the boom with the entrance. They'll boo him because he's doing heel shit. He's duct taping his opponent to the ropes and taking advantage of him.
Absolutely,
But he has a certain type of charisma that fans just want to cheer him.
No, it's like, obviously we've heard the comparison before. He's got that HBK kind of something to him,
which is who he models himself. He loves Shawn Michaels.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it works for him. It absolutely works for him. Like even back in the day when Shawn was a heel and acting like an overcocky kind of like SOB, people were kind of like, man, there's something about him though.
Yeah.
And that's what Adam Cole has. He has that look, he's acting like a total prick and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? There's that certain something with him. And he connects with an audience, and that's what you need.
The audience is there with his entrance. He connects, he's got a move set that how do you not cheer for when he does his Panama? He does this, amazing move he morphs one of the most dangerous original pro wrestling, a pile driver. A move that was once made illegal, and he's morphed it into a jump from a second rope. There's just so much about him that's like, and then tied in, and they've exploited it. So it's fair to say, he's the guy that's got the girl. He's got the women's champ. He's got Dr. Britt there. It's like he's a guy that people want to cheer. And so what I'm getting at is, I don't know. I think he's took a little of the babyface thunder away from Hangman Page. I think Hangman Page has become a little bit of the other Adam, and I don't know how much longer they can actually position Adam Cole on the heel side of the fence. I think they're gonna have to figure out what the Bucks and Red Dragon, who's going to side with who. I think Adam Cole is going to have to be on the babyface side of the fence sooner than later, because that's just what the people want.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I mean, like you said, I think he's excellent as a heel. He does he handles that well. But again, it's kind of again, as we said before, I hate to compare something to WWE, but it's kind of like the Becky Lynch situation in WWE. People want to cheer her.
Yeah.
Because they enjoy her. There's a connection with her in the audience. Adam Cole has a connection with the audience. And they, like you said, especially that boom baby. I don't think they have a choice eventually down the road, unless he does something absolutely heinous that I don't know how heinous you can get to make him change. I don't see it. Like he's going to be a babyface down the road, but do they rush it because of what's going on right now? Because the fans want it.
Isn't it interesting that some Hangman Page is a babyface, good. They have acts like even acts like Orange Cassidy, who was a comedy act, but he gets people's reactions. So, but isn't it interesting? You have guys like Adam Cole, guys like Wardlow, who are still technically on the heel side. They're on the heel yard, but everybody's just like, these are the money guys moving forward. Even Britt's still a heel, but people love to do the DMD. They're into it. It's so interesting. That's the landscape of AEW, and that's kind of wrestling fans in general. They like there's the heel that they like to cheer and like to appreciate, like those, and then there's the MJF heel who is like, screw you, I don't want your admiration.
Right.
I just don't want it. It's a funny.
It's a different generation of fans. It's almost like they're fans of the entertainment value they're getting from their talent that they're watching. It's not like I like this guy because he's such a good guy and he's doing all the right things, and they're gravitating towards those that are entertaining them and bringing them in and drawing them in.
Yeah. Jimmy, pop quiz, and your time of being in the ring for all the years you were, who is one of your favorite heels to watch in the ring, who just did all those little things that just, night after night, house show, just got the people just red-faced and fury? Who did you love to watch work heel?
Oh my goodness. Trying to think back over the years. That's a tough one, because I was privileged enough to be in, Mr. Perfect.
Oh,
he was just, especially in that time, in that age, in that era, he was just so cocky and arrogant, and he just pissed people off, and even the little things. And he was good at doing the little things behind the referee's back, but manipulating the referee and not making him look like a total buffoon, with the dark glasses and the tapping cane and stuff like that. He was one of my favorites. Yeah. One of my favorites. Yeah.
You're talking like late 80s, like 89.
Yeah. Absolutely.
89, 90. Him and Brett working SummerSlam for the IC title.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. It just,
awesome stuff. What about babyface? I guess the Hogans and the Austins.
Oh, of course.
There, but any other notable baby faces that don't get as much love?
Oh man, Ricky Steamboat.
Okay.
Steamboat, of course. Boy, again, John Cena.
Yeah.
In the height of his babyfacedom was incredible. Stone Cold, Rock. Like when he was, oh my goodness, like, just incredible. By the way, getting back to Mr. Perfect, you know who named his finish?
The Perfect Plex?
Yes.
Who?
No. Right. Yep.
No.
Yep.
You saw him do the fisherman suplex, and you said let's call it a Perfect Plex.
Nope. Trying to make a long story short, we were at an afternoon.
We got time. We got all the time. Tell us.
Okay. We're afternoon house show. This is when he first started.
Okay.
His Mr. Perfect character. And we're at a house show here in Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens. Jack Lanza was the agent. I wasn't reffing the match, but I was watching from the curtain. And I was standing right beside Jack. And he's like, wow, this kid's just, he's got it. And he's putting Kurt over to the moon. He says, boy, Vince just needs, he wants a name for that finish of his and stuff like that. And I don't know what was going through my head, but, Perfect. And so Kurt comes back to the curtain, comes through the curtain, and Jack's talking to him about the match. Great, blah, 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 blah. He says, but we need to come up with a name for your finish, because Vince wants a name for that finish. And for some reason it popped in my head, and I said, Jack, if you don't mind me, can I make a suggestion? He says, sure, go ahead. How does Perfect Plex sound? He says, Kurt, how do you like that? He says, absolutely perfect. And they took it and ran with it.
Wow.
It wasn't like I was trying to come up with something.
No.
For some reason, it just popped in my head. I don't know. So I figured, you know what? Let me just throw it out there, see what happens. And
that's awesome.
It stuck.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then that's a famous finisher name. That the alliteration and just he was known for doing things in such technical perfection. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that would have been, I guess, what he because he was with what AWA prior, right?
Right.
He comes over and gets the
Mhm.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
now I've read your book. That's not even in your book. That's a bonus right there.
Right. I'm gonna. Well, maybe if I do another one, maybe it'll be in there.
Oh, another book teaser.
There you
Teaser.
go.
Love the tease.
Yeah.
All right, that was Dynamite. That was the news. If anybody else has any final thoughts, get your super chats in quickly as it is
Yeah.
closing time.
It was a fun show. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was a good go home show leading into the pay-per-view. Rampage on Friday night should be very interesting too. There's a lot of good matches lined up there. So yeah.
And I always say this, please, in this case, tweet myself at Justin LaBar, tweet at Jimmy Korderas if you want to. If you want to tweet the boss and Raj at Raj Giri _303, I just want to know, how are you consuming this podcast? Are you watching live? Are you falling asleep to it? Are you listening to the audio the next morning as you're on your commute to work? Are you procrastinating your boss or teacher listening to this while you're at work or school? Are you cleaning the house? What are you doing? I always love to know, what is this podcast doing for you? What, can we drop a shout out? Can we do something that's going to help make the experience that much better? Again, this podcast is free to watch live on YouTube or Twitch. You can also check out Jimmy's Ref and Rant every single day on his social media as he sips a nice cup of Joe and he gives you his thoughts in 60 seconds or less. So there's Jimmy's Ref and Rant, this podcast live on YouTube or Twitch. Of course, you can subscribe to the Wrestling Inc. channel and enjoy this podcast in any which way. Jimmy, it's always fun. This is a blast. We get to do this more and more together, which is fun. So
this is an absolute blast, and we've known each other for a while now, and we're friends. And I'm a little biased, so I love doing these with you, buddy. And I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you letting me plug my stuff as well, like my Ref and Rant. And again, like I said, tonight was a fun night leading into Sunday's pay-per-view. It made me want to see some matches even more than I did before. That's the goal.
We're on the road to Mania and history and fun fact. The first in-person filming and production you and I did together we're coming up on 10 years to the day here shortly. Was 2012 in Miami. It was yourself and Arda, and Damien, and Dave, and myself and Josh. We did a big trifecta of and at the time, 2012, there wasn't a ton of video. Now, video podcasts is much more prevalent. There wasn't a ton of video podcasts at the time, at least at the level of quality. I humbly will say, the three of us. We did a big mega show of Mania predictions, and I think my night ended at like 2 a.m. with you and Arda and such. We were at a Waffle House.
Hey. Waffle House was the place back in the day. unless you're traveling with the great Khali and he says, Jimmy, we go to Denny's.
He's a Denny's guy, huh?
He was a Denny's guy. And I'm like, you really want to go to Denny's? Let's go to Waffle House. Let's go to anywhere. No, Denny's. It's whatever who's going to argue with a 7-footer?
Right. That's funny. Yeah. Well, we were Waffle House in Miami that night, but 10 years, my friend, 10 years. So good times. Keep on rolling. All right. He's at Jimmy Korderas, again, Ref and Rant every single day on his social media. Check out his thoughts. Former sports entertainment referee for more than 20 years, 60 seconds or less, cup of coffee. Get your coffee and enjoy it with him. I'm at Justin LaBar. Still, it's at Wrestling Inc. as Raj continues to fight with Twitter. But no worries. WrestlingInc.com has not changed. All of your wrestling news, headlines, rumors, and reports there for you. Of course, as we are on the road to Revolution this Sunday. Bigger picture road to Mania. I have a feeling with MSG, WWE show this Saturday, with Raw this Monday, I have a feeling we are going to have some noteworthy shows coming up here. So
I can only imagine. And don't forget, don't sell yourself short, my friend. Don't forget to spar with LaBar every Friday morning as well.
Yes. Well,
I know you plug it.
I know. I love the plug. I'm actually going to be off this Friday.
Yeah, sure. The one time,
yeah, I'm missing my cue this Friday. I'll be back the following week. Okay. But yes. But anyway, just listen to Busted Open. They're great too. Busted Open on Sirius XM channel 156.
Yeah. By the way, you heard the news that Bully's going to be on the Broken Skulls.
Yes.
Session.
What a conversation that's going to be.
I could only imagine.
A lot of good stuff. All right, exciting times. Appreciate it. Big thanks to everybody involved. Thanks to Jimmy. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and being part of this. We really appreciate it. Without your support, without Manscaped support, this thing doesn't happen. So thank you. Be safe. Good night. Tweet us. How are you enjoying us?